Hello everybody, how you doing? Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking all about cream products. It's going to be very intense. I've been getting so many DMs and requests asking me to compare the Fenty cream bronzers and the cream blushes to other cream products, and I figured I can do that, but why not take it one step further? So in today's video, I am going to give you my review on the Fenty cream products, but I'm also going to be going through 20 other cream and some liquid blush and bronzers, swatch them on my face, and tell you my thoughts on them as well. And then to take it one step further, I'm also going to be comparing comparable formulas cheek to cheek so that you guys could really get a good idea of what the cream products are like and what in the end will work best for you. Enough stalling, let's get right into it. So I really didn't know what to do with my concealer foundation situation because I am going to be wiping off bronzer and blush constantly throughout this video, so I didn't want to put on a full face foundation. It just didn't make sense. So just to let you know what's going on my face right now, I am wearing a little bit of concealer on my under eyes, kind of like in the center of my face. But what makes creams and liquids so great is that they work really well on bare skin. Unlike powder, blushes, and bronzers that don't really stick to bare skin, creams do. So even though I'm not gonna be wearing foundation underneath all these creams, they still will apply in the exact same way. Second disclaimer, I'm not going to be swatching or showing multiple colors of each formula because this video is really more so about the formulas themselves and not so much about the shades. So of course, gotta start off with a Fenty cream blush. This one is in the shade Fuego Flush, and I am comparing it to the Tower 28 blushes, not really because they're super comparable in formula, but because a lot of you guys wanted to know if they were comparable. So I'm gonna show you guys the difference between the two. So starting off first, let's talk about the Fenty cream. So what I noticed right away upon first trying the Fenty cream blushes is its sheer formula. It's not a super pigmented cream, which is nice because then you can take a color that's as bright as this orange and put it onto your cheeks and not feel like you look like a clown. So that makes it actually a very, very easy formula to use. It's really beginner friendly because you're never going to over apply. It also blends into the skin seamlessly and very, very easily with just like a couple taps because there's not like a ton of pigment that you actually have to blend out. So if you are somebody who's newer to creams, a formula like this is perfect because it's really, really hard to mess up. The one downside for me for the Fenty blushes is the actual size of the product itself. I was so surprised to see how small these creams were. This only has 0.10 ounces or 3 grams of product, which is not a lot of product, especially because it is such a creamy formula. You are going to end up going through this quickly if you do use this every single day. So my overall rating for the Fenty Cheeks Out Cream Bronzer is probably a 9 on 10. Very close to being a 10 on 10. If this was a larger compact, it would have gone there. So comparing these to the Tower 28 blushes, this is the Beach Please blush in the shade Golden Hour. It's another orangey blush. This one though is definitely way more muted compared to Fuego Flush, which is more of like a brighter, almost neon orange. They are both a very creamy and emollient formula, but the pigmentation on the Tower 28 blushes is definitely much higher. It's not quite as sheer as like the Fenty cream blushes. So you actually have to be a little bit more careful when applying these because you can very easily over apply and get something that's a little bit too intense. But because it is such an emollient formula, it's not stiff at all. It's very, very easy to blend. So even if you were to over apply, you can very easily just fix it by just continuing to blend and it's going to melt into the skin. So if you are somebody who wants a little bit more of like a pop to their blush, then you may want to go more towards the Tower 28. Now, even though this is a very creamy, very melty formula, you would think that it would be a little bit stickier on the cheeks, but similar to the Fenty creams, it isn't. It doesn't have that sticky, tacky texture that's uncomfortable. Because it is so pigmented, these also work beautifully on the lips as well. All of these creams and liquids can be used throughout the face. They don't just need to be used on the lips. And again, that pigmentation does come in handy on the lips, which I really, really like. So these are fantastic. I would give them a 10 on 10 because there's truly nothing that I would change about them. Oh man, I can't even hide my excitement for these. This is the Fenty cream bronzer. I used this product once and right away it went from like non-existent on my list because it didn't exist to number 1 or number 2 that quickly. This formula to me is so comparable to my beloved Tom Ford cream bronzer, which I talk about all the time and pains me that I love so much because it's so expensive. I find that these are so interchangeable because their formulas are so similar. So very similar to the blush formula, the bronzer formula is also very sheer. When you have a formula that's a little bit more sheer, it has that nice translucency to it, which again just aids in that more natural appearance because you could actually kind of see your skin through it. So it really just looks like you're bronzed or tan. And that is why the Tom Ford bronzer became such a favorite of mine, because it had that translucency to it where it just looks so natural on the skin. This does the same thing. And again, very similar to the Tom Ford bronzer, the application process, it's a pinch. It's so easy. Similar to the blush formula, it's very, very user-friendly, very beginner-friendly. You don't have to worry about over-applying this because the formula is so forgiving. What's great about the Fenty bronzers is that they come in a ton of different shades, so you really do have something for everybody. Whereas the Tom Ford one, there's like 3 shades, so obviously it's not quite as extensive. I have 2 shades here, 03 Macchiato, which is deeper and warmer. This is like my bronzing shade, and then I have Butter Biscuit, which is 02, which is like my contour shade. So I pretty much just dab the brush directly into the compact itself. Don't have to worry about picking up too much because again, the formula is amazing. And I'm just going to gently, or I don't even have to gently apply it because again, formula is amazing. I just need to kind of dab it on to apply it where I want it. And look at that, completely perfect application. There's no streaks. There's no, finessing that needs to be done. It was like a 1 swoop, 1 kill. So my overall score for this guy, it's a 10 on 10, baby. So now let's talk about the Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate in 01 Intensity 1. So as far as cream bronzers go, this was the reigning queen for me. It was my favorite bronzer because of all the reasons that I previously mentioned. I'm not going to repeat myself again. Obviously the price for this is a huge downside. It is a Tom Ford product, so it's really, really nice that we now have something that's very, very comparable that is obviously way less expensive. As you can see, there is also a cream highlighter in here. This is pretty much just like a clear glossy highlight. There's no color to it. I never use this highlighter, honestly. And like I have always said, I just wish Tom Ford would come out with just this cream bronzer without the highlighter attached to it. So let me show you how this one applies. I'm gonna use the same brush. I'm gonna dab it into the product itself. And you can see it applies beautifully. So even though I love the Tom Ford one so much, I'm gonna be giving it a 9 on 10. I'm docking 1 point for that insane price tag. So now moving on to a nude STIX and a Milk Makeup blush formula. It was really like the first cream blush formula that I tried, that I fell in love with, that just opened my eyes to the possibilities of creams. So there are 2 different formulas within the nude STIX Nudies lineup. There's the Nudies Bloom, which is more of like a dewy formula, and then there's just the plain Nudies, which is a matte formula. So I'm gonna be talking about both of them at separate times. We're first gonna be focusing on the Nudies Bloom, which is, like I said, the dewy formula. So the Nude STIX Nudies are marketed to use throughout the entire face, on the cheeks, on the eyes, and on the lips. The Nudies Bloom, I would not really suggest using on the eyes because it does have more of like a wet, emollient, dewy formula. On the eyes, it kind of just creases really quickly, but it is a really beautiful formula on the lips and on the cheeks. What I do really like about the Nude STIX STIX is the fact that it is actually a stick. I just kind of like being able to take a product and just swipe it on my face. It's quick, it's easy. At the same time, I do know that it's not the most sanitary in the world to swipe a product all over your face from like the actual stick, but I do it. So the shade that I'm using right now is called Tiger Lily Queen, which is a really pretty bright coral. It's actually one of my favorite shades from the DEWY collection. When I wear this particular formula, it almost looks like I'm also wearing a highlighter. So most of the time when I wear this, I will not put a highlighter on as well because there's already so much sheen going on my cheek. If you have dry skin and you want to give as much glow to your skin as possible, this is a gorgeous formula. But if you have more of an oilier skin type, I would actually skip the dewy formula and go towards the matte formula because this may be a little bit too shiny for your liking, especially if you find you get really oily throughout the day. This product is definitely not going to help with the added shine. All of the nudies also have a little brush on the other end, which can work to like blend out the color. To be honest with you guys though, I don't really like this brush at all. I never ever use it. I just don't feel like it does a good job of blending. In fact, I feel like just using your fingers is so much easier. The Nude STIX Nudies have really stood the test of time for me. me, even though I'm constantly trying out new products. When I consistently go back to a certain product, it's because I really, really love it. I really do love these, so I would have to give them a 10 on 10. On the other cheek, I have the Milk Makeup Glow Oil Lip and Cheek. So this is somewhat similar to the Nude Stix Nudies Bloom because it is another cream product that is supposed to give the skin a really glowy look, although the formula itself is quite different. But let me first apply it so you guys can see what it looks like. So this one is in the shade Flare. So this formula is a little bit different. It's really not your typical cream. It's more like a cream and oil hybrid. So it does have kind of like an oilier residue to it, and because of that, when you put it on the cheek, it really gives the skin such a nice hydrated look. So very similar to the Nude Stix side, but I even feel like this is even dewier. The issue that I have with this product is how small it is. When I first got this, I thought that this was a sample size, but it is not. This is the actual size of the product, and it's $20 Canadian, which is kind of crazy. The Nude Stix Nudies Bloom is so comparable, and you get so much more product. It's just so much more worth it to go for this guy compared to this guy. Also keep in mind, with most creams, you are gonna get more of a glowier finish just because of the formula itself. It's just the nature of a cream, but there are formulas that do look glossier than a typical cream, and that's these guys. So since we're already on the Nude Stix page, let's talk about the Nude Stix bronzer. This is Nude Stix Bondi Bay, and I think Bondi Bay specifically was actually the first cream product that really stole my heart. This was like my first favorite cream bronzer, and it still continues to be one of my favorite cream bronzers. This is, however, very different in formula compared to the Fenty cream bronzer or the Tom Ford cream bronzer, and that's because this is way creamier and way more pigmented. So what I like to do with this product is I just kind of dab it where I want it, and then I take a brush and I just dab it out. So this formula is really, really pretty, but it doesn't have the same translucency to it as like the Fenty or the Tom Ford one. So you kind of need to be a little bit more mindful when blending so that it meshes and melts into the skin. So even though Bondi Bay was really like my true first love, and it really makes such a beautiful effect on the skin, there's really nothing not to like about it, my heart really lays with the more translucent bronzer formulas like these guys over here, just because of how easy they are to apply. I don't even have to think when I put them on my face. So I think overall I would probably give this a 9 on 10. On the other side of my face, I have this cream stick over here from Physicians Formula. This is the Sculpting Bronzer in the shade Toffee. When I got this, I was actually very excited because I thought that it would be a more affordable dupe to the Nude Stix Bondi Bay. However, I was slightly disappointed. So I actually find this particular cream to be a little bit more annoying to work with. It is definitely a stiffer, more sticky formula. So when you go in to blend it out, you really have to work it into the skin to get it to look like one with the skin. Right now it's actually behaving and it's looking quite good, which is kind of annoying because it's not allowing me to prove my point. But in the past, when I have tried to wear this, I have found that it's actually blended out quite patchy on my skin, and I think that probably has to do with its stickier formula and it maybe like sticking to some areas and not to others, and that was kind of my issue with it. And you know what it is? I think the way that it looks at the end can be good, but getting there, it's just a little bit annoying. And so sometimes you can make the end result look good, but sometimes it can also look a little bit questionable, and that's my issue with it. Let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think? Have you tried this? What are your thoughts? Now let's talk about my last Nude Stix products, which is the last formula that I have here, and that is the Original Nudies. So this one is the matte all over face color, and between these two guys, I feel like this is the one that I would recommend more, just because I feel like this is a more versatile product. So this is more of like a matte cream, but it's definitely not drying or chalky at all. So don't let that name kind of confuse you, because it's not like a typical matte formula. It's just not quite as emollient as like pretty much all the other blushes that I just showed you guys. What I love so much about these is like when you're having days that you don't really want to think about what you're putting on your face, you can just take one product, go and be done and have a nice monochromatic look that works. And so because the formula isn't quite as slippy, you can put it on your eyes and it's not going to get all gross and oily and greasy. I mean, if you have very, very oily eyelids, I wouldn't put a cream on your lids without setting it with a powder. But if you have normal to dry eyelids, this works great. And I'm even gonna take some on my finger and just kind of dab it on my lips so you guys can see that you don't only have to put it on the cheeks. I also find that because of the more matte, not so slippy texture, it is probably one of the more long wearing creams that I have here, especially the ones that I've showed you guys already. So on the other side, I have another more matte cream blush. This is the ColourPop Blush Sticks, and this one is in the shade Flamenco. So if you're looking for more of like a matte cream blush stick that's more on the affordable side compared to like the Nude Sticks one, then the ColourPop one is definitely a really, really nice option. I don't really have much to say about these, honestly. I feel like it's a very basic cream blush. They're not like extraordinary, but they're not bad in any way either. I feel like they just work. Oh, by the way, if you're somebody who does not want to accentuate their pores, cream blushes can kind of be tricky, especially glowier cream blushes. Products that have more of like an intense sheen tend to accentuate pores. I would actually go for the matte nudies because I feel like they do a really good job of not accentuating pores because they're not super glowy. So now moving on to my last two cream bronzers that I have here. I have my Huda Beauty Tantour, and I also have my, I almost said Nude Sticks. This is my Milk Makeup cream bronzer in the shade Baked. So let's first start off with my Huda Beauty Tantour. So this is another product that I talk about all the time, and it's definitely one of my favorites. This is what I like to call my more full glam cream bronzer. So what I like so much about creams is that they give me more of like an everyday makeup type of look. They're very natural looking, but this cream is a little bit different because the formula itself is a little bit more on the matte side, and it's also pretty pigmented, so it's almost like full coverage cream. So I do actually prefer to use this product with a sponge, but I don't have one right here, so I'm just gonna use a brush. And you definitely need a very small amount of this. So what I actually like to do is I like to pick it up and then tap off the excess in the cap, and then I'll go in to apply. And you can see, even though I tapped off my brush, how much product actually gets applied and how pigmented it actually is. And you may also notice that it's quite matte. It doesn't really have much of a sheen to it. Now, this is definitely not a super user-friendly cream. You have to kind of be careful when you apply this. You can't apply too much because, as you can see, I did apply too much and now it's getting really messy. It's looking a little bit crazy, and I'm trying to fix it right now. But even though this is a little bit more finicky to use compared to the other cream bronzers, I still love this product and I do use it all the time. You've probably seen me mention it a ton of times in my videos. But what I really like about it is that it does, you know, mesh into the skin and look very natural looking like a cream does, but it also gives me a really flawless, full-on look like a lot of creams sometimes don't. And that's what I feel like makes it special, and that is why I like to use this on my more full glam days, because it kind of just, again, fits better in with my full glam look that I have going on. So I would not recommend this for somebody who wants a cream bronzer for day to day, who wants like a really natural look. But I think for people who don't want to use creams because they are too natural looking, this is a perfect bronzer to try because it's still going to give you that full-on bronze look, but with the benefits of a cream. So on the other side, we're gonna be trying out the Milk Makeup Baked Bronzer. This was actually my second cream product love. I actually discovered this soon after I discovered the Nude Sticks Bondi Bay, and I absolutely adored this. I feel like this is kind of like a hybrid between the Huda Beauty cream bronzer and the Nude Sticks Bondi Bay. Similar to the Huda Beauty cream bronzer, this is more of like a matte, fuller coverage cream bronzer situation. It's not as sheer or translucent as some of the other ones that I showed you guys, but I also feel like this is more everyday appropriate than the Huda Beauty, similar to the Bondi Bay. I do find that this one has a little bit of like a stickier formula, so you kind of have to work it into your skin a little bit more to really get it to blend. But because of that formula, I do find that it actually lasts longer on the face compared to like the Nude Sticks Bondi Bay. So I would give Huda Beauty probably like a 7.5 to 8 on 10, just because ease of use isn't up there. But once you do get the hang of it, it is still a really beautiful product. And like I said, I use it all the time. So if that says anything, then there you go. And then the Milk Makeup one, I would also probably give this like a 7.5, 8 on 10. Because it's a really good product, but it's not my ultimate favorite. Still don't know how to say this brand name. Is it Kosas? Is it Kosas? I still don't really know, but this is probably one of my least favorite cream products, unfortunately. And there's so many products from Kosas that I really love, and I had such high hopes for this before trying it, but this really just is not my cup of tea. It's just the cream blush duo in the shade Velvet Melon. You have one blush shade and then highlighter shade. So this is a incredibly creamy product, which some people may like. I personally really don't like. I don't like it because it stays very sticky and almost wet on the face. It does not set down whatsoever. It also gets super messy in the pan, which is a small detail, but it's a detail nonetheless that I just really don't like. And even though it looks really pretty on the face, like it looks super fresh and nice, and I really like this color, the texture of it is just so not my favorite. And if you go in to hug somebody with this blush on, you will be leaving an imprint, which isn't cute. So I do get asked all the time my thoughts on this, and those are my thoughts. I really just don't like it. It's just like a cream product that's just too creamy for me. So on the other side, I'm gonna be using the Burt's Bees All Aglow Lip and Cheek Stick. This one is in the shade Peach Pond. Now these aren't really incredibly similar, but they are similar enough that I would put them together. If you were just talking shade here, these are like the exact same shade. So if you were into this shade but you didn't want to get this formula, then I would get the Burt's Bees one. It's pretty much the exact same color. It's also less expensive, so yay for great dupes. The Burt's Bees cream is definitely very, very glowy. As you can see, my cheeks are glistening. This formula also does stay a little bit more emollient on the cheeks throughout the day. Like, it doesn't actually set down, but it's not as sticky as the Kosas one. This is a formula that I do really like to go to on my no makeup days when I'm literally not even wearing foundation and I just want a little bit of a glow and color to my cheeks. This is one that I really like to wear. Just know that this is not going to be a color that's going to last you throughout the entire day. It's not like super long wearing, but it does give a really pretty effect to the cheeks. So this is like a better version of this guy. So I saved my 4 liquid formulas for last, so let's talk about those. So these are kind of like a cream liquid hybrid. They're not really liquid, but they're not really cream. It's just like a liquidy cream. So starting off first with the Glossier Cloud Paints. This is one of my favorite creamy liquidy blushes. The reason being is because I find that these are very customizable, which I really like. Because these are liquid, you can mix them like you would paints, which is ironic because it looks like a little paint tube. So what's really nice with that is if you had, say, like 2 or 3 of these, you can combine different levels of the 3 to create different shades every single day. So for example, let's say I wanted to take Haze, which is a bright fuchsia purple. So let's say I wanted to like nude that out a little bit. So I can take a little bit of Beam, which is a nice peachy nude, and just apply that to Haze to create a brand new color. And depending on how much you apply, obviously, you can create a brand new color. And so those 2 colors create this really cool, almost like neon peach. So that is what I love most about the Glossier Cloud Paints. They're also super easy to apply. They really just melt into the skin super easily, like that. And you really need such a small amount as well. I find these to also be nice and long wearing. They don't stay tacky or sticky at all on the face. They really actually set down quite a bit. So I find that they last well throughout the day. Then we have the Maybelline Cheek Heat. These look suspiciously similar to the Glossier Cloud Paint. They even have the same caps. They both look like little paint tubes. So I'm just gonna apply it so you guys can see and then we'll talk about it. So this one is in the shade number 25 Fuchsia Spark. So even though these look very similar to the Glossier Cloud Paints, they do apply very differently and they do have a very different texture. They almost feel watery and very gel-like when you start to blend it out into your skin. They're way less creamy. I find that no matter what I do, no matter how I apply it, whether it's with my fingers or with brushes or a sponge, I find it always kind of applies a little bit patchy on my skin. Like, it looks really blotchy. You guys can probably tell. And I just find them a little bit hard to work with. It kind of gives more of a stain effect to the cheeks more than anything else. And yeah, I just don't love the way it applies. So not a fan of that one, but I obviously love the Glossier Cloud Paints. All right, we made it to the last set. So these are the 2 last liquids that I have here. This is the M Cosmetics, what are these even called? I think they're called like the serum blushes. And then this is the Physicians Formula Dewy Blush Elixir. So let's first talk about the M Cosmetics guy. This is definitely very different than any of the other ones we've spoken about today. The actual texture of this blush is very serum-like. So it's a very lightweight, almost slightly oily feeling to it. So this is the shade Rose Milk, which is probably my favorite shade in the collection. It's a gorgeous soft pink. And so with this product, you really want to apply a very small amount. So I always apply it to the back of my hand first, and then I just pick it up and apply like that. But because it is a serum, it melts into the skin like a skincare product would. So I find that you're able to get such a gorgeous, soft, natural effect with this product. If you're looking for like a pop of color in your cheeks, this is not really the product to go to. This is a product to go to if you want something just really nice and soft and subtle. And because again of that texture, it makes the skin look really nice and fresh and glowy as well. This is a beautiful blush that really looks like it's coming from within. It actually looks like you're just naturally blushing. This is a formula that I like to reach for more on, like, again, my more no makeup days. This isn't like a full glam makeup type of blush for me, but for those no makeup days, it's a beautiful, perfect formula for that. All right, and then on the other side, we have the Physicians Formula Dewy Blush Elixir. This one is in the shade Gorgeous Peach. So this is actually an extremely similar formula. It feels almost exactly the same, honestly. It's another very lightweight serum-like formula that melts into the skin like a serum would, and it gives pretty much the exact same effect as well. This thing also, I would imagine, would last for such a long time. There is 15 milliliters or 0.5 fluid ounces in here, which is a lot for a liquid blush because you really only need a teeny tiny little amount, so this is going to last a long time. So that finishes off today's cream showdown. I had a lot of fun doing this, and I would be more than happy to do more versions of these like product showdowns. Just let me know down below what other types of products you'd like to see me do a showdown in this format, and also let me know if you want me to do a second part to a cream product showdown. I could do some highlighters or some more blushes and bronzers. If there are other brands that you guys like to see specifically, let me know down below. Give this video a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it and found it helpful. I would really appreciate it. And of course, subscribe if you're not subscribed already and want to join the fam. So that's it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.